Good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me and see me? Let me know if you guys can hear me and see me, audio, video. Good morning, good morning. Guys can hear me, see me? Heard, seen. Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, Blair. Good morning. Good morning, Victor. What's up? Welcome back. Good morning, Joe. All good, good, good. Morning, Logan. How's everybody doing this morning? Oh, let me get it going on Instagram here. And some people like to join in on Instagram. Good morning, Ray. Yeah, I just got back. I took the morning off from running and I was mowing my yard. So I'd like to get that done. Sachin had to drop off early. No worries yesterday. You can review the stream. I did post the live, but yeah, I did take a trade yesterday. It was about an 8-hour trade, a little over $800 on $100 risk for me. Like I said, I'm kind of staying sized down with my positioning during these live streams so I can focus a little bit better, reduce risk. Good morning, everybody. For those of you on Instagram, I'm live and sharing my screens on YouTube. Link is in my story and link is in my bio as well on Instagram. Yeah, so today I will post a recap of how we did this week with the live stream trading. It's been a relatively boring week again. I mean, we still squeaked some profit out of it, nothing crazy, but it's just kind of the slow summer price action. Typically, volume and volatility is lower over the summer, not having as big a trades. And truthfully, just the slow, grindy price action makes me a little bit trigger shy, and it also kind of makes me a little bit hesitant to hold trades too long. So like yesterday, I was already up 8R. If you guys remember, I was targeting that 6,200 level, but I didn't want to just sit around in that all day and then possibly get stopped out. So took it off when we broke above the 6180s, which was that target I saw where those offers were resting on the order book. So we'll start going into the analysis this morning here. Let me share this really quick. How's the quality looking this morning too, by the way? Good morning, good morning. Quality is solid. Cool, cool. Yeah, I made sure I'm on my desktop at my trading station and I have direct line internet. So like everything internet wise is as good as possible on my end. Better for sure. I even disabled my Wi-Fi just to make sure I'm not connected over Wi-Fi, and I'm for sure only connected over my Ethernet. Seems better than yesterday. Maybe it was either just the StreamYard or YouTube was having an issue yesterday with the quality being a little bit lower. I don't know. I don't know what that was about, but sounds like we're better today. So that's a good thing. I'm still trying out the StreamYard thing again today. It's got some cool features. So I'm trying to use that, but see how it goes. All right. Good morning. Good morning. We'll just dive into the analysis here for the day. Yeah, I know it was kind of mixed. Some people said it wasn't looking so good yesterday, and then some people said it was working fine. So I don't know. Maybe it honestly kind of sounds like maybe just a YouTube thing, though. If it was just kind of mixed. Some people had a good quality, some people didn't. All right. So yeah, this is the right screen sharing going on here. To the upside, we'll just go into it. Good morning, Stelios. Hope I said that right. We've been in this wedge that I've been talking about 4 weeks. We broke out, right? Pretty simple. We've broken out pretty aggressively. There's a lot of really large buying. We consolidated for one day and then broke out of it, which is even more bullish to me that we didn't just blow through it without any pullbacks. We really pulled up to the top of this wedge, consolidated right at it. I mean, right at it. So no coincidences there. Key technical area. A lot of people were placing orders around. We broke above it firmly and closed near the highs yesterday. Very strong. However, the price and volume has been pretty slow and pretty sluggish, which makes it a little tricky, in my opinion. Just got to be ready to sit in some trades for a while. All days green this week. Thanks. Going to close red one. I'm not sure what that means. Did you take a trade? Glad you had all green days this week. As have I. And during these streams, we've been very patient and selective, caught some good trades this week, albeit just nothing crazy, huge wins, just small, typical wins. But that is just summer price action. Volatility is pretty low, pretty small. So now that we have firmly broken out above this range, I'll be watching for any pullbacks. We're starting to pull back a little bit. The first key area that I will mention is 6,200 to the downside, which we've pulled almost back to now. I'm going to bounce a little bit back and forth here just so we can jump right into the game plan for the day, really. So we had this key 6,200 level. It was just a key whole number. It was also, if we look at the 4-hour chart, it was a point where sellers had rejected previously. And then we had a really nice clean rejection at it right in the late afternoon yesterday, which was my target for earlier longs. Although I scaled out because I was just trading with 2 contracts. I was all out above 6180s, but it did end up going and continuing up there. One second. We did end up continuing going all the way up there. And after rejecting right at the close yesterday, we did end up breaking above it. We did consolidate it around it a little bit, but then, around the London session start overnight, around like 2 a.m. or so, after we broke above it, we held above it. So overnight, we held that pretty cleanly right at that 6,200, broke out above it. We are pulling back a bit now. We did have GDP news this morning at 8:30. I wasn't around for that. Just looking back on the price action, I don't see any real significant reaction around it. But there was the GDP news at 8:30, as well as jobless claims news at 8:30. Yeah, I don't see any crazy reaction around it. Other than that, I don't really see much other significant news today, to be honest. It is a Friday, so I typically, yeah, and that is the nature of all-time high price action. You don't want to be a first seller. The fact that we're at near this location at all in the market is already bullish. So bulls are clearly in control. There's no reason to fade this. Yes, you can eventually catch, a nice large drop off in selling, and you do got to be aware when that happens. But more often than not, the trend is your friend. till it's at the end and it's reversing. But for a good while, more often than not, you're going to be better off looking and waiting for those pullbacks to get longs and just continue targeting the highs until major structure shifts. What's at 10 a.m. pending home sales? I have. Oh, sorry. What the heck? I'm looking at Thursday's news. I was looking at the wrong news. We had PCE news at 8:30. Sorry, I had my calendar pulled up on Thursday. Today's Friday. I don't even know what freaking day it is. My head's spinning with these live streams every day, guys. We had PCE news at 8:30. It was. And yeah, consumer sentiment. So a little bit minor news at 10 a.m. Minor news at 10 a.m. Let me send out this link really quick. Some people on other socials are asking. So give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, consumer sentiment at 10, expecting some nice volatility out of that. Yeah, hopefully we continue to get a nice little drop that we can find if buyers defend down at some key levels. So I'm watching this dip here this morning in the pre-market. If we hold above the 6,200 area, if we do drop strongly below that, I would maybe watch this area that consolidated under yesterday's close, just like afternoon consolidation from kind of 2 p.m. until the close here. So I would watch that area, really this whole area. And then if we drop below that, I'd watch opening range, which was also this consolidation range from the pre-market yesterday. And that is why I left that up, because that consolidation range lines up right above that trend line of that wedge today. So if we drop into here, here, or here, those are all areas that I am watching if buyers defend here, if buyers defend here, or just this general range. And I'm just going to be watching price action and order flow around those. Those are kind of, this would be kind of a significant drop based on what we've seen, but do want to be cautious with it though. It is Friday. Generally, my approach on Fridays is not to look for a big, huge move. We've traded up all week, so there's a good chance a lot of people are going to be wanting to take profit if people were, in longs from earlier in the week. So there's just a good chance that in the short term we may reverse today, and the volume has already been lower. And volatility has been lower. So on Friday, especially after the morning, I'm definitely going to be done. I just look for a quick scalp typically in the mornings. Are you having any short setups today? Not too much, not too much. Unless I see something, really shift. Maybe if we break under 6,200 and I see a lot of selling pressure and I see rallies failing with a lot of absorption, then maybe I'll take it short for a quick scalp targeting one of these. But again, the structure is very bullish and there's really no significant supply or anything up here to reject off of. And we'll just go into the higher time frames now, so you can see here on the 4-hour chart, that's that 6,200 level, which we already broke above. To me, not really significant supply up here. Obviously, sellers were in here in this area and rejected the market lower the last time we were up here at these all-time highs. But that was kind of, on that tariff news and everything coming out really accelerated the market down. We are still pending a lot of outcomes from some of the tariff news and stuff, so we got to watch out for that. I think now that Israel and Iran stuff has calmed down, which the market really didn't have a whole ton of reaction to, and it was very short-lived, and maybe that's why market knew. But really kind of all eyes, probably in my opinion, still on just the whole US trade negotiations with tariffs, any headlines that come out in regards to that. So sellers were in this area, but the fact that we've just kind of come up here so strongly, and then we're just spending a lot of time consolidating up here, we're not seeing any kind of significant pullback. That's interesting to watch. If you actually look at the 4-hour, this whole week since we bounced off the low of this trend line, we really haven't closed more than 1, 2, barely 3 red 4-hour candles this whole flipping week, which is pretty wild. Just been straight up. And even when it's like gone sideways, it's still managed to just grind out green candles, just barely, and then move up. So we are seeing a little bit of a pullback up here after we tested these highs, 62.20s. So that's important to note. We are starting to see a little bit of a pullback, but again, I'm not trying to be a first seller on this move higher, trying to catch a top. Yes, it can work, and you might get a big move out of that once in a while, but more often than not, like imagine if you were trying to catch a top this whole way up here. At here failed, here failed. What's different with this? We're not really at a super key technical area, in my opinion, where sellers should step in. I don't know. I don't have any significant reason, but I say that, and we might sell off all day today and retrace back into some of these demand areas, which would be totally normal after such a large upside move going into a Friday. People taking profit. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, main game plan today is to watch these areas, and then I would just be targeting the next level above, middle of the range, or a breakout of the highs. So that's what I'm watching this for this morning. If we do break under here in the short term very strongly, and I see rallies fail and I see lots of absorption, really significant confirmations, then maybe I'll take a quick scalp on the short side. But I would be very cautious of that. So we got 7 minutes. Again, like I always say, don't be here to try to copy my trades. I take losses. This is just for entertainment and education purposes. There's always delay in information, and also just the technical stream has its delays. I don't recommend anyone just being here to try to copy trades. It doesn't ever work in the long run. So follow your own system, take your own trades, manage your own risk. All that kind of stuff is what I recommend. Hopefully I can share some information that helps you learn and maybe figure out how you like to do things best for yourself. But just sharing what I'm doing for myself. All right. So I think that's all the key technical areas. We can drop down a little bit and see it on the 1 hour here. Pretty much the same view. I will say, as we've broken out of this wedge, there hasn't been a ton of really large excited buying. After we took out the bottom, look how aggressive this buying was. So buyers, really wanted to be involved here down here at the lows. But I would say the further up we've gotten to the top of this wedge, and then now above that wedge, we're just really grinding up here. Nobody really wants to be a seller, and also buyers aren't really super excited either. So important to watch that. It kind of probably needs more of a pullback to get buyers excited again at better prices. Good morning, Phil. Hey, good morning, Tony. Welcome in here. No, Tony. All right, so we got a few minutes. I'll take if anybody has any questions on the game plan or anything else that you'd like me to cover. I'll talk about it and ask throughout. I'm going to be pretty patient this morning. There's a very good chance I just take no trades today. If I don't see any good setups, volatility's been low. We're not really at a super key technical area. We've just been grinding higher. It's a Friday. We've already had a green week. So typically I've had a green day every day this week. Tuesday I didn't take any trades. So when I have a week like that, I don't always have green days every week, guys. I take losses. But when I do, I become a little bit more hesitant, maybe a little trigger shy on Fridays. I don't want to force anything. You know, I will take a trade if there's a good setup, but you know, I'm not looking to force anything to repeat the results that I've had all week, because I don't, you know, that can, you have that in the back of your mind. You're getting a little too hot, and then you come in and swing a little too hard, a little too fast. That's something that's not super great quality. You tend to take losses. So try to avoid having big highs and big lows. Just kind of stay steady. Going into the weekend, it's the summer, it's a Friday. You know, there's lots of reasons why volatility and volume just tends to decline. And in my opinion, Fridays, especially the later in the day it gets like this, can get choppy. Would I consider what a supply zone? D's, I'm not sure what you're asking if I would consider a supply zone. What helped you gain confidence in your analysis and trust that they'd be more probable? Just really knowing my data and just years of experience. You really, really got to record your data and really understand what works. And having tools like TradeZella is fantastic for that. So the more I've documented my data and just the years of experience, I just know what works in the long run. So even if it doesn't work in the short term, like whatever, I just know I have confidence because I've gone through so many losses and so many things, so many times, got through it, that I just, you know, I've been day trading for about 4 years. So here asked, been day trading for about 4 years, and I was kind of like swing trading, I guess you could call it, investing on my own before that. But really like full active trading intraday in the screens like 4 years. $62.03 to 06 is a low volume node, thinking as a key level or consideration. Yeah, it's right above that 6,200 level as well. Let me take a look at the volume profile. I actually didn't look at that today, so that's a good call out. Yeah, hey Daniel, good call out. Yep. So right, a little bit of a low volume node area on that kind of aggressive break that started right after 1 a.m. right there around 6204 to 6203-ish. And that's also right above that 6,200 key level. Thank you, Daniel. Good eye. I didn't check the volume profile yet this morning. So a lot of selling delta building here in the pre-market, right in this area. 541 lots right now at 6206. Yeah, so we are pulling back into that area right now as we speak. So this is the first key area. Yeah, unfortunately, it's already happening in the pre-market, and it's kind of a little bit tricky when this happens. I feel like more often than not, when that happens, I regret trying to jump into a position in the pre-market, and it's usually I just let that trade setup go. But it is frustrating when, you know, it drops right into a key area like that right before the open, and you kind of miss it, is what it is. And it's just, it's hard because it is a little bit of a gamble taking a trade before or after the first few minutes of the open. There's just so many rush of orders coming in. It can just really be 50-50. So we'll see what happens here. 87.89, also low volume node here. I'll switch my screen over to Bookmap now. Yeah, so a lot of sellers jumping in here right off the get-go, and we'll watch that. For those of you on Instagram, I'm going to end the stream here. The link is in my bio and on my story on Instagram. Please join in over on YouTube. I'm sharing my screen and we'll stay on there. So peace out. So, man, if that would have happened at like 9:40, 9:45, I would probably be in this long right now. There's 134 lot negative delta down there at 6203. That was just a really nice dip right into that low volume node, right into that key area right above 6200. So if it just goes and shoots from here, then it is what it is. That was a nice, and you can see the setup really selling kind of dried up here right as we dropped into here, and then bounced and recaptured right above 62,304 right away. But like I said, 250.50 being right at the open, right, like literally the minute before and the minute after 9:30 bell. So just gonna sit back and stay patient. Again, yeah, we're right at that 6,200 key level, which I've been mentioning, right above it. Also an area of low volume where price moved up aggressively after 1 a.m. The only thing that makes it a little bit more iffy is like I don't always look at low volume nodes like that form overnight. I prefer to see it form like during regular trading hours, just because the volume's already a lot lower overnight. So that could pop up a lot more and not be as key. Especially because it wasn't even like during like news around like 8:30 or something. It was just at like 1 a.m. But clearly buyers were there. They wanted to move price higher. So there's a lot of selling here so far. Just look at all the red. A lot of selling so far right here. But right now, making a higher low. See if these sellers get rewarded with another drop lower. But really, it's been moving lower since 8 a.m. So we made this high around 62.20 at 8 a.m. Dropped lower this whole little pre-market session, and now we've dropped down into here, some pretty aggressive selling. But this is interesting that we're getting all this selling right here and not getting really any further drop lower. So this is kind of key to watch, combined with all the stuff that we talked about, this kind of being an interesting technical area to watch. So if we can start to see some real buying, show some excitement, and then pull back into this, that may be an interesting long setup here. Right where all this selling is trying to move the market lower. We'll see if this actually does reject or if this continues to absorb. And we can see it on the footprint chart. There's just a lot, like right at 62 of 725, there's a 481 lot, below that 302 lot, below that 200 lot, below that another 200 lot, 170 lot. So just a whole lot of aggressive selling right here. So if there's a whole lot of aggressive selling right here and the market is not dropping yet, it could. So keep that in mind. But right now it's not dropping and there's a lot of aggressive selling, market selling orders. Who is there? A limit buyer, passive buyer. It's got to be here if we're seeing all this negative delta and the price is just holding here. So if that goes away and selling continues to drop, then we might see this break down. But if this selling continues to dwindle now and there's less and less aggressive selling and price is still not moving lower, then there's really only one direction for the market to go, which would be up. But it's a little difficult when volatility is this low and this flat. because any bit of orders could come in and just drive price out of here quickly when there's just so little volume and it's just so slow. And then the other thing that could happen, we build all this consolidation here. If it rallies out of here and does not pull back and give a nice entry, then might just miss it. I'm just a little hesitant here, just how this is just kind of still moving sideways here. I'm not quite comfortable enough to just take this based on the absorption alone. I would rather see the absorption and, real aggressive momentum building buying drive out of here and then pull back and test this. But that comes at the cost of we might just blow up out of here and never come back and test it. Typically, volume and volatility is lower, like based on my experience, just over the summer, until like September. I think it's pretty normal. There's always exceptions, and there's always things that come out, especially if there's any kind of geopolitical things that come out. But all right, so buyers are really coming in here. Let's see if we get a pullback into here now. And like I said, it may just take off, and I may just miss it. It just didn't feel quite good enough for me just yet. We'll see if we get another little impulsive drop that traps more sellers. Yeah, you got to think like summers, a lot of professionals are on vacation. So a lot of big fund traders and things like that are all on vacation. People are with their kids and families, and they're not like at their desks trading as much. So just volume is lower, price movement is slower. Just from a macro world view, like less people are probably at their desks. A lot of people are on vacations, kids are out of school, et cetera, et cetera. And so volume and volatility tends to be lower. Typically picks up, I think, around September. It took me a couple years to kind of get a feel for the different market cycles that things kind of tend to go through. It almost wanted to pull back. I just wanted to see how we have these bids popping up here now around 07, 08. I'd love to see an impulsive drop with some large absorption down here now. And that would be like really nice for me. There's a ton of absorption of aggressive sellers between 6205 and 6207. So if we now, which is almost exactly where I have this box drawn, 07, 75, 04. So if we get a nice little impulsive drop down into here now where these bids are, and I see these bids like show intention and get filled, then I'll probably take a stab at this long. But if it doesn't and it just squeezes out to the upside now without that, then I may just miss the trade. This also kind of aligns with, like I said, that kind of opening range breakout that a lot of people trade. First 10 minutes here now. Let's see if we pull back into here. I could take a stab at it now and just be more positioned for a larger move up and just do it with small size. But I don't really want to do that on a Friday. I don't want to be holding a trade all day on a Friday. I'd like to see if we can catch some sellers on a quick drop off sides here, take it long and catch a quick little pop higher into the highs and call it a day. So more selling dropping in here. There was some aggressive buying right at the highs, 290 lots, 277 lots. I actually think that's a good thing because we'll probably go back up there again. We'll just see if these bids get filled right here. This one, did it pull or get filled? It kind of got filled. Probably should have been looking a little more closely here, not talking. So this bid is kind of rebidding here at 62.08. Let's see if we drop down here again. And kind of the invalidation point would be if we get below these 05s, 04s. I might have missed it. That might have been all. That was it right there, and I flipping missed it. But we did get this bid popping up again here. Dang it, I was freaking talking and not paying attention. Not paying close enough attention. But yeah, this selling was a little weak down here, right into these bids. You can see that, just see how it goes from like large, medium, small, just kind of like weaker selling as we pull down into here. And right into these bids, right at the top of this zone that I said where we saw all that absorption. Hopefully somebody caught that. Logan hopped in it. Nice trade. I might have just missed the setup today, guys. See if we get another quick little impulsive drop down here where buyers step in. At this point, like I'd have to be risking like at least like 6 or 7 points. And I mean, I guess you could target the 62.20s, but that would still not even be 2R. Like 6 or 7 points to make like maybe 10 points. That's not good. Not for me. Down here at the 08s, maybe it would have been a 3-point risk for like a 12-point trade setup targeting the 20s. That would have been a good trade. But man, oh man, slow. Very slow. And that's why I was saying I was hoping to get like a larger impulsive drop that would really accelerate some volatility to take a nice long scalp down in demand areas. Because that would have really gotten some sellers off sides right into a demand area. The trend is up. But if we just do these micro little pullbacks, it doesn't really get a whole lot of volatility moving to get kind of those V-shaped bounces where you can get a really high risk versus reward scalp. Yep, consumer sentiment in 15 minutes. Just keep that in mind. Again, I've talked about this before, but for those that missed it, this is where I kind of look at my news for the day on this Bloomberg calendar. And what I do is I just filter out US news only, and I only filter out like level 2 and level 3 impact news events where it has like a little bowl icon, 1, 2, or 3. I don't even look at level 1 news impacts because it just doesn't move things usually enough. If I filter like level 2 and level 3 news impact things on there, and I only look at stuff related to the US. And then I said this before as well, but throughout the day, I watch this page on X for Squawk to see any headlines or anything. It's just kind of an aggregated news source. Typically see things come up on there before like typical news media outlets. So yeah, we're grinding higher now. So great entry right down here at the 08s. If I wasn't blabbing and I was focused, then I probably would have taken this trade right here at 08, put a stop loss right under 05. That is what I was looking for. Look at that. We drew that box over here, broke out above it, retested it right at that bid and bounced. Perfect. It just, the only thing that made it a little iffy is just how slow price action is right now. I'm still kind of getting a feel for how slow and low the volatility is. I have about 9 different specific setups that I look to trade, and they're all very similar confirmations, similar things, but variations in the way I trade and the way I look at things based on volatility, based on market direction, and based on just overall like market context. Maybe I'll teach all that someday. Yeah, it just makes, like, as a very short-term intraday trader like myself, it just makes me a little trigger shy trying to really time entries because the volatility is so low. It's tough to just, I think what's tough about it is it's tough to get a feel for the pace of the market when, because when volatility is better, you can really kind of feel when the order flow, when things speed up and slow down around large and smaller orders. But when it's all just kind of slow and grinding like this, it makes it a little bit difficult to read kind of the pace of the market and where participants are really getting aggressive and excited and where they're not. I think just adjusting to that as a short-term trader like me, the way I trade using order flow, technical analysis and everything, it just makes it a little bit, not necessarily more, it's just different and you have to adjust to it. Target from 08s, I would probably just be looking to first target these pre-market highs around 62.20s. That's why I said if I was sharper and I got in right here on this test at these bids, it would have just been like a 3-point risk and target the pre-market highs around the 20s. So you're risking like 3 points to make like 12 points. But then by the time I was really talking about it over here and I was paying more attention, we were trading at 10 and 11. So it would have been like a 6-point risk for like a 9-point target, 9 or 10, 6 or 7-point risk for a 9 or 10-point target. It's just like, no, that's not what I like to trade. Nice trade, 62.05. Yeah, so I was talking about that in here. I could have got in here. But like I said, I didn't love it because, we're still consolidating. Volume is really low. I wanted to see buyers really show some aggression, and they're here, and break out above this zone that I marked and then pull back and retest it, which is exactly what we got. I was just talking and not super hyper focused here to take an entry. And there was about, from here, mm, 24. It's about a 30-second window in here to get that entry. Ideally, like if I was really paying attention and I saw this bid get filled and then we bounced and pulled back and then this bid appeared again, I would have probably jumped in long right here around 08, 08.50. And my stop loss would have been right here under probably like around 62.05, targeting the 20s. But it's okay. It's still very slow. And the other thing now is like we have that little bit of news at 10 a.m. like NFQ just said. So see what happens. Above to the upside, let's see, what do I have? If things really get juicing to the upside again today and we squeeze out, then the next thing is probably 62.39 is the next area I'd be probably looking to target. Which is a swing high from February 19th. So if buyers really start getting aggressive above the highs, drive price higher for another strong day and to close the week, probably the next thing would be 62.39. That daily swing high from February 19th. And then above that, really just all-time high is 62.58. Still trading in the pre-market range. So yeah, that was a good setup though. That consolidation, we broke out of it, pulled back into it. That was super clean, right around 62.08, and I missed it. But see what happens here. We could easily get a sharp pullback back into there. Just zooming out on Bookmap here, you can see right off the open all that selling that hit and got absorbed. Just look at like all the size of all these bubbles. Look at all that selling there, and the market did not really move lower. And that's why I marked that zone there. We pulled out above it, pulled back into it. It's clean. It's super clean. Just slow. It's the only thing I would say that makes it hard. It's a super clean setup, but it is just super slow. Yeah, if you got an entry down there, you have options now going into the news. You have a little bit of a buffer zone. I don't really know. I don't really think this is going to be super significant news. Maybe it will be, and I'll be totally wrong, but I don't know if consumer sentiment right now is going to have that high of an impact. We'll see. But I probably would not let that go red on me down there now. You know, if I want to hold into the news and attempt to gain a little bit of profit for that risk of unrealized profit, sure, potentially, but I probably wouldn't let it go red. And only because that's like kind of medium impact news. If that was like really high impact news, like FOMC or, you know, NFP or something like that, I would just be all out. Not going to gamble that. But since it's just kind of medium impact news, maybe price just kind of accelerates in that direction further. Or maybe you could, we're kind of at that point, like if you got in down here at the 08s, are already up like maybe 3R on the trade. Nothing wrong with just scaling out and leaving a runner to see if the news wants to give you some extra juice on that trade. Pullbacks have been few and far between to try to get a part of this, which makes it challenging as a technical trader, especially, you know, if you're trying to manage your risk and play good risk versus reward ratios. You got to be cautious. Like this type of action can get you in the habit of just buying just because it's going up. But that can be very dangerous and detrimental to your trading in the long run, because more often than not, the market is not like that. So if you do get in the habit of just buying because the market's moving up without really good risk versus reward ratios framed around that in a systemized way, then I can almost for sure guarantee that you're going to lose all that money in the long run. Nice sweep. There's the targets into the 20s. So that would have been an awesome trade. Dang. Somebody caught it, I think they mentioned in here, which is great. Daniel, all out at the 20s. Great trade, Daniel. Fantastic. I'm happy for you. Oh, fuck. Caught it from 09. BW, nice trade. Nice trade. Ray caught it from 08 to 20. Nice trade. Man, a bunch of people in here caught it. Very good trade. Very good trade. Clean. Like right off the level, right off the zone. Nothing iffy about it. Retest, like absorbed it, broke it, retested it, and just went straight up to the target. No question about it. Nice. So many people caught that. Great trade. Yeah, I mean, just textbook, really textbook. Absorption, breakout above it, pulled back into it, held it, went straight to the target. So now we're starting to see it slow down, pull back here. We took out the highs from the pre-market. We got news in 2 minutes. So I would personally, the way I manage my trades, I would have taken it all off there on the high. Just at that point, I already hit my full initial target. Going into the news, like, yeah, you might make more, but who cares? Like, why gamble? You already hit the full target. Very clean trade. Yeah, I just was not paying enough attention. I was talking, and what's going on here? So I was talking and not paying super close attention here on this pullback. Just an excuse, but I missed it. Just straight up missed it. Would have been nice if it came just a little bit further into here and we saw a little bit larger absorption and stuff, but textbook selling got weaker in here. This bid appeared, it held, and we rallied right off of it. So 1 minute till news. Let's see what happens here. Look at this. Tape thinning out here. All these orders just disappeared right there. 10 a.m. There it is. Is it just going to keep blasting, or is it going to pull back or anything? Awesome. Blair said he's probably around break-even trader right now. These live streams are helping out a ton. Can't thank you enough. Awesome. I'm glad it's helping you. Appreciate you joining in here. Like I said, all I ask is if you guys get value out of this, just like and share so it lets me know that this is valuable for people, and I appreciate that. Let's see, we got 176 people in here. That's awesome. JB asked, how long was I in invested trade? I think I've been in there since around like 2022. '21 maybe. Nothing else too exciting to get in on. That was the setup. A lot of people caught it. I'm glad about that. It was clean. Like I said, all this absorption here, we broke out of it, pulled back into it, straight up to the target, and never really pulled back or looked back. News came out, we got more absorption and continuing higher. A couple years to really get consistent with trading for me. Mindset question, how do you not give away your profits end of week? Just what I'm doing now, just being very patient and not, you have to start, regardless of whether you took a loss or a win the previous day, you have to train your mind to only think about being just a blank slate every day. And every day, the only scoreboard is just following your plan and your process. Like, it's not about wins or loss. Like, every day you have to have like a blank slate mindset. And the only goal, like scoreboard on the day, is just following your plan and executing your setups. That's it. Win or loss, doesn't matter. Like, it can be a losing trade, but it's still like a winning day if you achieved your goal of just following your trade setups and process. And if you get too focused on the monetary side, you've been winning for a few days that week, and then you're mentally just focused on that dollar scoreboard and you want to repeat that. So you step outside your system and outside your zone and take random trades because you see the market going up or down. Now, if you give back a little bit of profit because you followed your system and your setups and you just took a loss, that's fine. That's part of the game. You're going to have ups and downs. The problem becomes if you let that affect you and then you start taking trades outside your system because you're revenge trading and you're just seeing the market move and you want to get that back right now. I'm going to make a recap about that specific topic soon. I'm going to whiteboard it out and make a video on it for you guys because it's a really, really game changer thing, going from an unprofitable trader to a break-even trader, or a break-even trader to a profitable trader. It's a very key thing about consistency and everything that I just talked about. But I'm going to whiteboard it out in a way that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, 6208 is a long ways off now. If we dropped with all the way back down there with heavy selling at this point, it's still a key level to watch, but it would be, the context would be different now that we've already gone and broke out these highs. If we rejected all the way back down there with heavy selling, the context would be different. So the level is still important to watch. But it wouldn't be so A+ to long it now from my perspective. Gradually, I think I started out with just 2 screens. I started out with just candle charts and then bookmap. I just used bookmap through Thinkorswim, which was like free back then, or very, very cheap. And then I upgraded to using it to adding also footprint charts, which was very cheap. And I used the Tradeovate footprint charts. And then I added doing footprint charts. I use Sierra chart now. I still have Tradeovate and I still use that footprint chart on there occasionally if I trade my Tradeovate account, but primarily just trading the Sierra chart app with my other account. And then I have the whole full standalone bookmap application. And that's another video that I'm also working on to make for you guys. Is I'm going to do a full breakdown of my whole setup, like the hardware, everything that I use, and then also all the applications and everything that I use and how I have it laid out and everything. Because I get asked that all the time, which is my fault for not already making a video going over a full breakdown of my whole setup and what I use. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that actually isn't a terrible idea. If we hold the prior high a day now after this news absorption and rocketed, if we get a sharp pullback down to 62.20s now that we've like really broken out the high, if I see good confirmations in this area and buyers are still strong, still aggressive, and we want to expand again today, then that's a possible setup as well. Let's see here. Rectangle. This area. I don't love it as much to continue betting on a large upward expansion just because we've already moved so far up all week and it's getting later in the morning on a Friday. So I'd like to see a really strong pullback fail at a key area, but we could just continue what we've been doing all week, which is just sharp little pullbacks fail and we just keep grinding all the way up. Which package do I have with Bookmap to get this heat map? I think all of the packages come with this, but the add-ons and extra things that I have, like the Dom Pro and this indicator, I think is with, I have the Global Plus subscription. No pullbacks allowed, just grinding up. Very low volatility. See where VX is at. I'm sure it's just absolutely crushed. Excuse me. Sorry. Mowed the grass this morning, so my allergies are kicking up. Yeah, VX is under 19 now, just pretty flat, just nothing. So yeah, volatility is just super low. Literally just looking at the 5-minute chart, absolutely nothing but green candles this whole day. Since the 9:30 open, we had that little tiny drop, consolidated in that area, and just straight up. I'm looking at the 5-minute chart now. Just straight up, no pullbacks. Well, that was interesting. Interesting to watch that activity up there around 62.29. Again, it's so tempting to see stuff like that and be like, oh, here it is, sellers are stepping in and short it. But just given the context of where the market is at, I don't like doing that. But it's so tempting to see that the sharp little pullbacks with some sellers stepping in, and really this could just be, you know, somebody that bought in long earlier taking profit, and a whole bunch of people are ready to buy it as soon as it dips back. But I mean, this could reject much lower. But how many times are you going to get stopped out trying to catch that before it works? I'd rather see a nice solid drop. But it does kind of flip things a little bit now that we've already rallied and broken out the highs. It kind of changes the context a little bit if we do drop now from here with some heavier selling. But if we just get a quick impulsive drop that fails in one of these key areas here, like this area here that I marked, or down here in the opening range, that would be kind of a bigger drop now. Look at this, just flipping straight up. If you didn't get that one entry we talked about right here, there's just not really been anything else to trade, in my opinion. It would be poor risk versus reward. Like, yes, it worked today to just buy anywhere along this move. It's just continued going up. But overall, in your trading journey and your trading career, if you make a habit of doing that, there's just a very poor risk versus reward ratio, and you're just probably not going to make money long term doing that. Just always avoid anything that's like a just this one time type of scenario. Isn't it unusual for VX to go up on this huge rally? It's been grinding up since the open. No, I'm not going to overanalyze that. I mean, could be moving up because people are basically just buying insurance before the weekend if something happens. I don't know. There's not, see, look at that buying now. So a lot of people probably saw this aggressive little bout of selling here, and they're like, oh, this is the top, let me short it. You know, congratulations, it's not the top, it just went higher. No, he stopped out. So it's very important to understand like context of where the market is at and what's a good probability setup and risk versus reward setup. I mean, this technically would probably be good risk versus reward if we have a technical thing up here and this is a top and we're targeting way back down here. But just from a probability perspective, could take a lot of losses doing that in this context as we're clearly bulls are in control and we're just moving higher. Somebody said, John B said, I just added the absorption indicator. It's shooting off everywhere. What do you have your settings at? Should make a video on this because it's another one that I get asked every day. And it's not your fault. It's my fault for not making a video on it yet. But I use this automatic mode for that absorption indicator. And these are my kind of settings that I keep it on. 30-minute interval and around 10. And I'll adjust this based on volatility. Like if it's triggering too much and volatility is really high, then I'll increase it a little bit. But as a general rule of thumb, my baseline, I keep it around the 30-minute interval and around the 10 multiplier of the standard deviation multiplier. I do like how we've now multiple times swept up these highs and now larger selling is coming in. I do like that for a top reversal type setup, just a quick like drop setup. But contextually not so good. When I see multiple like failed sweeps higher like this and then larger and larger selling, look at this larger selling and now even larger selling coming in. Now this is something we can watch a little bit. Again, want to be very cautious trying to just catch a top because this could just continue failing and grinding higher. Yes, Saeed. Hopefully I said your name right. That's kind of what I just explained. Like if we have a key area up here and I see multiple like exhaustion prints where like buyers get swept up really fast and then reject back down, and the buying is kind of thin, and then it rejects down with a lot of large selling, kind of like we're seeing right now, then I may look to scalp a short on that. But it's a little difficult, and if I do something like that, I would probably do it with smaller size, and I'd probably want to see sellers really get factored in and break this, and then an impulsive bounce back up into this with weak buying. There's a lot of selling coming in here. A lot of selling coming in. 200 lots, 300 lots, 300 lots, 350 lots. So if we get selling is definitely getting factored in now. So if we get an impulsive little pop now, now that we've kind of taken out the highs, is there kind of any technical area here? Let me see. Look at the 4 hour. 4 hour. The next really key area that I was looking at was 39. But what's here? So 62.27 was 4 hour like pre-market swing high back on February 20th before the large drops came in. So that's a little bit of a key interesting technical area around 27, which is actually right here where we just made those sweeps above and then rejected back down. So that's interesting. There's a 4 hour like pre-market swing high before the market dropped, made a large drop on the 4 hour. But I don't know. Trend is still up, so it's a very counter trend type of thing. There is a lot of selling coming in here, though, basically ever since we came up here. Let me switch my screen here. Show you on footprint chart. This is what I'm talking about, all the selling that's come in here. Like you can see, 500 lots, 670 lots, 400 lots, and then we had this little pop at the high with not a whole lot of buying volume up here, and then more selling, 300 lots, 300 lots, 300 lots, 300 lots almost, and then more selling, 400 lots, 400 lots. So a lot of selling coming in up here. Yeah, feels trappy for another squeeze higher, possibly. Like I said, just context with the market right now, just location and everything, for sure feels like it could be just another squeeze higher. And the better setup is probably just to wait and see what happens if we get a pullback here, and if buyers defend it, and then target these sellers. When you're entering a trade, are you using a bracket which adds a stop loss order? Carmine was responding to a post on X the other day and said that he doesn't use a hard stop. Yeah, I always have a hard stop and hard target order in, and I adjust it based on my scaling of my position. I'll either have a hard stop loss in that is my actual stop loss, or I'll have it just set a few points out just as a safety net in case something crazy happens, and I'll manually exit if it gets to my stop loss. But either scenario, I always have a hard order in from the get-go. and when I enter the trade, it's going in with a bracket order, and I'm automatically getting, it's just defaulted to like a 5-point stop loss, and then I'll drag it to where I usually want it, which is like a 2 or 3-point loss stop loss, depending on the setup. 1, 2, 3-point stop loss. Yep. So far, that selling is not defending that. It just was a lot of selling, and then we're squeezing back higher. So it's not a situation where we had all this selling and then we pop back into it and sellers are aggressively defending that level. It's just probably more of a profit taking type of situation here, pulled back, and now we're popping and squeezing back higher, and buyers are still in here. Maybe sellers want to defend here around this 27. That 27 is what, 27.75 to be exact, is where I was talking about that level, which is exactly where we just tested. We're starting, just looking at the 5-minute chart now, we're starting to build a little bit of resistance here now. We've been consolidating from 9:30 until 10 a.m. We did not have a single 5-minute red candle. It was just straight up. And now we've had 1, 2, 3 red 5-minute candles, and we're bouncing a little bit with upper wicks. Just looking at the 5-minute chart here, for the first time this morning, we are starting to build a little bit of resistance up here. All right, so now we've double topped up here. This is more interesting to me. Sellers are factoring in now. They are defending this level now. So see if we get any more little pop up here. If I do try to short this, I will probably be in with pretty minimal size. Just very minimal size, just given the overall context. It's kind of a B quality setup for me. So, but we are seeing this absorption up here, a lot of large selling. We popped back up here, and now sellers actually, I said I spoke too soon. Sellers are now defending this 27 level that I mentioned that I just found on the 4-hour. And we've now kind of double top, lower high here. So we'll see what happens. I would probably just be targeting a break back into like 62.10 to 8 maybe, which would just be that opening range down here. I don't know if I will give this too much weight. If I don't get an entry on this, then I'll just sit out and wait and see what happens if we do get a pullback. But a little bit thinner volume here, so we certainly could see a sharp drop back into here, back around 62.09, 62.10, where those bids are. Some heavier selling coming in now. See if we get another pop with weaker buying up here. This is that zone I said to watch though. So to really confirm this, I would want to be a short entry up in here. And as further confirmation, I would want to see this little area break below. But I wouldn't want to enter down here. wouldn't want to enter short down here. But on the flip side, watch that area. If we bounce back up there, like a sharp, impulsive stop hunt to the upside with kind of smaller buying before another drop happens. This zone right here is just not strong enough to me, especially after seeing us make this top at that 62.27 level, double top, large aggressive selling. This isn't just, I just kind of marked this because it was a little blip there, but it's just not too strong enough to me now based on the amount of selling that we've just seen and kind of how we double topped and got weak up there. But that might work too. It might. It's just kind of, it's kind of 50-50 today and kind of slow, guys, and kind of Friday type action. So we'll see what happens here in this area or here in this area. If we get a impulsive pop back up in here, that stop hunts like this, but I wanted to see that a little higher for a better risk versus reward. But there's still a lot of selling building up here, even on this bar that I'm looking at, the footprint chart. Now 200 lots, 200 lots, 200 lots, 200 lots, all like a lot of aggressive selling up here ever since 10 a.m. Just a lot of aggressive selling on the negative side. Which, so, you know, typically I'd like to see a top made with a lot of aggressive buying that gets trapped. Don't see too much trapped buying. There's a little bit at the highs, but not too much. But there is definitely a lot of aggressive selling up here. But if this can't drop from here with this amount of selling and we just get a minor pullback and buyers come in strong again, we could certainly, you know, break out and squeeze to those 62.39s. All right, so here's a little bit more of an impulsive pop. Let's see what happens here. If we squeeze up into this area on the heat map, we see all these resting offers up here. $62.25. A lot of resting offers here around 25s. So if we get a quick impulsive pop up here that makes another lower high off this 28 with small volume, we'll see what happens here. And it would just have to give me that impulsive pop up here to have that risk versus reward entry. Just with the overall context and where I'd be putting my stop loss, I'm just not super comfortable getting in down here. I'd want to see a little bit more aggressive, impulsive pop that kind of stop hunts a lot of these sellers first. You can take it here. I just don't at 24s, but with a stop loss over like 28 and 4 or 5 points, that's kind of like the maximum area I'd be looking to put a stop. I don't love the risk versus reward there. I only want the best setups that have the best risk versus reward, the best probability that makes sense with the context of what I'm looking at in the market. Man, there is a lot of selling stacking up here. I'm actually surprised it hasn't dropped harder and more aggressively now. There is a lot of selling stacking up. I mean, this is the most selling I've seen stacking up in a while, I think. Let's do the volume profile here. If we do drop and it fails just with the amount of volume going on up here, I wouldn't be surprised if we make an aggressive V-shaped bounce back up into here. Just because there's so much volume transacting up here. I did not. Feels too obvious. Yeah, it's typically, I've said this before, the best sell-off opportunities, selling comes in hard and aggressive, and you get a quick drop to scalp, especially in an uptrend like this. But I have seen this a couple times recently where we just really grinded lower with a lot of selling, really try, and then when it does bounce, it bounces super aggressively back up. I've seen that. Somebody asked, did I take a short? No, I haven't taken any trades. The only trade that I really wanted to take and missed was this one this morning that we talked about at 62.08. I am watching this. If we do get that impulsive pop up here and I see us trap a lot of buyers up here, then I may take a stab at it with a small position size to reduce risk, just because it's a B quality setup to me. But given how long this is taking now, and how much how much aggressive selling that is coming in and has yet to really make the market drop lower, it's now making me feel like less than ideal about this setup. But we'll see how this goes. Yeah, so far no follow through down. It definitely does feel like it could plunge here quickly, but I don't see a risk versus reward situation right here for me to get involved with it. Like I said, unless I see a pop up here and I see absorption and good confirmations to get in it, make another lower high on a stop hunt, then maybe there's the risk reward aspect there. But right here, I don't like how there's so much aggressive selling building up here and no follow through. And also, like, to get in short here, the risk versus reward doesn't seem great. Because I wouldn't be trying, it would just be kind of a quick counter trend scalp. I wouldn't be trying to really call the high of the day for a major drop. That's kind of very counter trend and hard to do right now. I'll switch back over really quick to show you what I'm talking about, and this is why I like having like multiple views on things. You can see I'm flat on the day, taking no trades. We did have this aggressive buying up here a little bit, but if we would have seen all this red be blue, like aggressive buying up here failing, that would have been a lot more interesting to me. Up here when we made these highs. But look at the cumulative delta down here, so much selling building up here. And then you can just see it, like how many 600, 500, 400, 300, 300, 300, 300, 450, 270, just a crap ton of selling up here that just got stop hunted like crazy. Isn't that something? And that's why I was not looking to be in that. But that is interesting if that stop hunt fails now. It was too fast for me to get in on it there. See what that looks like on Bookmap. Right at the areas that I had marked here. But this is pretty aggressive and strong, not like a weak little pop with absorption that I wanted to see. So, wow. Nice trade, Joe's. Made almost 800 bucks on 200 risk. Cool. Yeah, so this area held again, like right at the top of this box. And now we're shooting up again. I'm gonna get rid of this now. This is invalid now. Do I just delete this? Move. Took out the highs all the way up here above the 30s, kind of dropping back down now. Nothing clear in A+ since we had that set up right in the first few minutes this morning. That's that long off 62.08. Those sellers got the pain, yeah. And that's why just everything about it I was saying wasn't good enough quality for me to get in unless I saw another piece of context, which would have been a pop up into here with weak buying. But this buying was pretty aggressive and it stop hunted this whole thing. So we may fail and reject back down here, but it's 250-50 and not just like a good quality setup to me. That is like worth a trade, if that makes sense. I'm not just trying to jump in because I see the market move in one way or another. I'm trying to find a good valid setup that makes sense based on multiple confirmations, market context, et cetera. Not just looking to jump in here in the middle for nothing. So this is what I'm talking about, guys, in this current market context. So see you, Victor. Victor's out. Hopefully either got a good trade or just walking away because it's not ideal trading right now. This is what I'm talking about, though, just like the overall picture. So, you know, one aspect of trading is taking good trades. The other aspect of trading is avoiding bad trades and sitting out and staying cash when the market tells you to. And just, you know, we saw confirmations as far as selling up here, but not a super key level to base risk around. And the market context also didn't make a ton of sense. So that's, hopefully you guys can gain that value today, is just understanding, you know, when it makes sense to put on risk and when it doesn't, because under different circumstances, different conditions at a different level, this would have made a lot of sense to take it short. Look at this aggressive selling and then weaker buying. So like a different market context, different conditions, different level, could have made really good sense to take a short setup here. But putting those pieces together kind of helped avoiding taking unnecessary losses. Like we saw this selling come in here. If you tried to short that here, you got stopped out at these highs. We rejected down again here. If you tried to short this, maybe you held on here. Maybe you got stopped out. Then if you tried to short on the break of this structure down here, you just got stopped out again up here. So, I mean, potentially took 2 or 3 stop losses now trying to catch this short up here, which I avoided based on the market context, based on location and levels. So it's not all just order flow stuff for entry confirmations. It's a combination of the analysis, the market context, and putting all of that together to make a high quality trade. And when it's not all together and you're just too focused on one little thing like the selling, that can, you know, entice you to get in, you know, like a, not even a B, like a C quality trade. And then you end up taking 2, 3, 4 losses on that. And then you need to hit a big win off that setup just to break even. Don't I trade Carmine's rebid, reoffer strategy sometimes? Yeah, I don't know. I do look for confirmations as far as bids and or offers reappearing to confirm a level. It's just like a retest thing. I don't necessarily probatum use his exact setup strategy and stuff for that. Honestly, it's been a long time since I watched his videos on that, so I can't really remember what his setup for that is exactly off the top of my head. All right, guys. So 10:44 here. We'll see what happens. I'll probably give this till 11 a.m. and see what happens. But we're just grinding higher. I haven't found another really great entry. I haven't found another really great setup. So I'm perfectly content with just protecting the capital that I already made this week. Dish hit the ground. Yeah. Did you guys hear that? I think my wife was doing some dishes with the babies and maybe dropped something. Matt, are you doing live trade every day here on YouTube? Thank you so much for the live information. Yeah, I typically do all these lives like this, like once a week. Good morning, Jose. Yeah, I typically do the lives like this, like once a week. And then I post a lot of trade recaps on here and on Instagram. So definitely the link is in the description of this live for my other social medias, and I post a lot of recaps and trading tips and stuff. So I recommend following me on Instagram if you don't, if you're just joining in here on YouTube. But occasionally, like this week, and I actually just did it 2 weeks ago, I traded live every day the whole week. So this week I've traded live. You guys have seen every trade I've taken all week, and I'll post a recap today on Instagram going over just covering all those trades and the recap of this week. So if you want to see that recap, I recommend going over and following me on Instagram. The link is in the description of this video, this live stream. And it's just Matto and Trades. All my socials are just Matto and Trades: TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube, Matto and Trades. But yeah, I'll post a recap of this week and cover it. I wish it was more exciting so far today, but it is what it is. We did call out that nice setup at the opening range. I know a bunch of people caught it, which was awesome. Where we saw this absorption, broke out of it, retested it right there at 62.08. Excellent long, risk under 62.05. Depending on where you got out above 6200s, that's like at least a 4R trade, 4R multiple trade. But yeah, I do these at least once a week, and then occasionally I do them more like every day for a week. Because like I said, like I am a full-time trader. This is a little bit of distraction for me. I don't make any money from this. I don't get anything out of this. I'm just doing this for free for you guys. So if you appreciate that, just like and follow, and that helps me out a ton, and I appreciate it. But yeah, I am trying to actually make money from my trading. So, you know, during these live streams, I'm still kind of building my skill at it because I'm still kind of new to it, and I size down my trading typically for doing this. Like I'm just trading like 1 to 2 contracts doing this. And depending on the setup, I may be trading like 4 or 5 contracts if I wasn't on the live stream. Thanks, Richard. Thank you. Yeah, so this continues to squeeze out. You know, if I wasn't distracted by all this selling up here and we pulled back a little bit further, like I said, I think I said this as all this selling was going on up here. I'll have to go back and watch because I can't even remember what I said 30 seconds ago. But when all this selling was going on up here, I was saying, like, if we do drop from here, I would not be surprised at all to see us like quickly V-shaped bounce back up here, just because of the amount of selling that occurred here and didn't move so much. There was so much volume built up here. Unfortunately, we just didn't bounce very much. We, again, just hit the very top of this box that I drew over here around 62.21 and bounced. I said, though, this wasn't super, super key. I would have rather seen a little bit more of a drop, but we hit it for the second time right at the top of that box, right where this little consolidation happened. And again, because of how much volume built up here on the sell side, that just didn't follow through. Bam, just squeezed right back up there again. So in my opinion, it makes it a little difficult to short it up here. Just risk versus reward and probabilities just aren't so great. And it also makes it a little difficult to long it up here if you didn't already catch it down here when we had that set up. So it just makes it a little difficult on both sides here this morning, guys. Thanks, Ricky. Appreciate that. Andrew, thank you. Will be live with you next week again? Yeah, at least one day next week. I typically do it on Mondays, or if it's a holiday, I'll do it on Tuesdays. Monday, I do have some contractors coming to my house, so I may or may not be on there. I'll post on Instagram on Sunday and let you guys know. So definitely follow me on there for updates and to stay. That's where I post like the most actively, so you'll have the most information up to date all the time about what's going on with either streams or trade recaps and tips and stuff on there. So even if I'm not like live streaming, I typically post a lot of recaps, not for every trade, but for many trades where I show like clear analysis and confirmations and stuff, so you can literally see gold information in like 60 or 90 seconds that you can help with your trading. pretty sideways ever since 10 a.m. And that is pretty typical, even just for Fridays. Like that's why I said from the get-go in the stream this morning, typically on Fridays, I often like to look for like a quick scalp earlier in the morning session. And then the longer the day drags on Fridays often leads to more choppiness, smaller range and everything, especially on a Friday during the summer, unless something unexpected happens, some news comes out or something that really changes things quickly. Look at this sharp little drop down here, almost as fast as the stop hunt was up there. So it's just like 50-50 on both sides here, guys. Nothing super clear to be like, we need to be involved with the market for the next move here. Yeah, VX is moving a bit higher. It's going to test that 19 level. I think I've talked about that. That 19 level is just a prior low. It's just kind of like a pivot point. It's been respected a couple times as a low where it bounced, and then as recently as a couple days ago, and then broke under, and now see if it tests around 1904 on VX. But if VX goes up there and tests it and rejects lower again, and at that same time ES pulls back a bit more into a good spot, then that could just set up for another squeeze higher again. Let's see, we've gone up almost from 6,200, 6,201 up to 6,230, almost 31. So almost 30-point range about so far this morning, which is decent, certainly decent range. I would say the problem is that that entire range just shot straight up since that morning open and then kind of went sideways right here at the top. So we had a decent range and took out the pre-market highs. And actually that where I marked that box was also right at the pre-market highs here around 20. There's also a bit of a low volume area there, which we did bounce off of, but another challenging thing, there just hasn't been a lot of up and down volatility. Like we had this dip in the pre-market, held right there off the open. We saw that absorption, break above it, and then just that whole 30-point range basically transacted there up until 10 a.m. And then since then, it's just done this. So 30 points is a decent range for the morning, but the way it did it in just like one move, and then now it's just sideways here at the top, it's a little difficult to look for a trade. How do you know when buyers or sellers are really trapped or in pain? Typically, if they're going against the higher time frame trend and there's a lot of them on one side and it fails to move price in that direction, which we're kind of seeing a lot of selling up here. You'd typically I would want to see a lot of more aggressive buying failing up here, getting trapped at the highs. To see that as absorption and large passive sellers, but we're also not really in any key technical area. The trend is up, so it's not a very good quality setup for me. Yeah, volume is for sure building up high here. Jason is right. It's just starting to look very sideways. We're building a lot of volume up here. It's tough to try to catch it on a short though, because like I said, I don't really want to be entering shorts up here at these tippity top highs with this uptrend. Risk versus reward isn't great when we pull back here. And every time we've pulled back with some larger selling, it's been stop hunted quickly. So tricky, very tricky. Believe a bomb is about to blast. That would certainly be possible. Anybody have any other trading related questions you want me to cover this morning? Have I used DX feed versus rhythmic? Notice difference? No, I use rhythmic. And then I have the rhythmic data on Bookmap and the Denali data, I think it's called, on Sierra chart. And I don't know if that's their own data. I don't really know what the story is with that data. I don't know if that uses DX feed or something else, or if that's just purely their own thing. I honestly don't know. I have the Denali data feed through Sierra chart and for my footprint charts. And then I have rhythmic for my Bookmap data. I will say no other broker I've ever used seems to be as fast or as accurate, both with executions and with data, as Sierra chart with Denali data and the Teton order routing. By far the most accurate and fastest that I've used of any broker or any service. Yeah, it is more pressure. I haven't been doing that for too long. Like I worked in tech for a long time remotely where I could easily manage both things because trading was just kind of a passive background thing and I could watch it when I needed to and work on other stuff when I needed to. I definitely don't recommend trying to just trade full-time for a long time. Just have a long-term goal in mind with trading and do it in addition to other income streams. At least for me, like I wasn't at a point where I was like young, like I'm 30. I got into it a few years ago, but I already had a house, had a family and everything like that. So I don't recommend, if you're in that situation, just quitting your job and giving up other income and just trying to go balls to the walls to trade. I would recommend a more gradual approach and keep other streams of income where you're working and stuff. But if you're younger and you have nothing to lose and you have very minimal responsibilities and income and you can learn this skill early on, then more power to you. I think that's what Carmine did. Can I suggest the best indicators to have on TradingView to track volume flow? I've never used TradingView, and I don't use candle charts or anything to track that kind of stuff. So anything that I say would just be nothing because I don't know anything about TradingView, to be honest. Don't use it. I use Thinkorswim for my candle charts. And all my order flow and volume analysis and price and volume analysis is on Bookmap and my footprint charts and my not only footprint charts but also candle charts with volume profile on Sierra chart. Nice. J Music said it's been consistently profitable for 5 months. Quit his job 2 years ago. That's awesome, man. All right. Really tried to give this the best shot for a nice setup to develop, but just continuing to go sideways now. So see what happens here. Probably leave it up and check, but I use the service package 11 on Sierra chart. Somebody asked. The footprint settings are just a custom setting that I got from Carmine and InvestTrade, and I think that's available to InvestTrade Academy members in there. And I've adjusted it for myself how I like, but I don't know. Don't worry about what you call yourself, Victor. Just work on you, man. Doesn't matter. Too many people are caught up in like calling themselves or showing themselves this, that, or the other. Just do you and don't worry about it. Just thinking about joining the military to become a more disciplined trader. I was in the military. I mean, maybe that background would certainly help, but I don't think that's necessarily a requirement to build discipline. But if you feel like that's something you want anyway, then that was my background initially before I had a tech career. Yeah, little to no pressure from VX. It is bouncing. It is bouncing. But nothing significant. And I have seen times like this where VX and ES just both move up together in this type of situation. Victor is grateful for the streams. I'm grateful that you guys are here and joining it and learning together. It's cool. Got a pretty awesome group now that's been coming in and day out this week and the last time I did this for a whole week. We'll be back next week. Don't know if I'll be back every day next week like this week, but we'll do it again soon. But again, definitely recommend checking out Instagram. That's where you get the most live updates from me day in and day out and trade recaps. And if you want to be a part of future live streams, then we'll talk about it there. Also, we'll continue to do at least once a week live streams on here, as always. And then on occasion, we'll do these full week kind of training and live stream sessions. Appreciate joining in, Ray. Clayton, yeah, appreciate. All I ask is if you guys can like and share. It helps me out, helps grow the audience so we can all participate and learn together. Continuing to just kind of grind sideways here in this range ever since 10 a.m. So we've given it kind of an hour now, just getting later and later on Friday. So it's about time to wrap it up. No trades today for me. I know we did have that one setup this morning. I missed the entry on it, but a lot of people caught it. So that is awesome. First time, and we'll be joining for more. Thanks, Print Plug. Max, super inspiring to learn from you. Appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are here getting some value from this. It's cool. Like I said, just doing this because I can for free because this is what I do anyway. So I just started doing it, just started sharing it a little bit more on social media. Again, all the links are in the description for Instagram. And if you'd like to join in on there, we've got a good community of people on there as well. And I share a lot of tips and things throughout the days on my story. And then I share a lot of trade recaps and stuff like that in reels on Instagram. So I recommend checking that out. I do share it on the shorts on YouTube as well. So if you just want to be on YouTube and you're not on those things, then I do share it on there, just not as often. I'll try to get better about actually posting it on everything. But yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you got nothing out of this today, other than just stay patient, don't execute low quality trades, protect your capital when it's time to protect your capital, and put on risk when it's time to put on risk. And know the difference. Otherwise, you'll lose money as fast as you make money. So real trading like that can be boring and not super exciting. But again, we're not trying to chase action. We're trying to make money and then keep money and lose as little as possible. As little as we need to lose to make those winning trades. Peace, Tony. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. I will post a recap on Instagram of the trading week since we did this live every day this week. And nothing else for me today, really. We had that set up this morning, like I said, and not much else since then. We've had an hour of sideways consolidation now going into a Friday during the summer. Just multiple reasons that the market is telling us to stay cash and walk away. So not going to try to force anything. I will take the signal from the market to stay cash and walk away. Thank you all for joining in. Have a good weekend, and I will see you guys Monday, either on Instagram or on here if we do the live stream. Like I said, I'll post updates on Sunday. So see you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. Peace.